Hi, folks. Yesterday, I was able to get back to work on the Avro 1911 biplane, a buddy build I'm doing with Charlie Mack. Something that our friend Tom Schrei suggested. He gifted us both this little kit and thought we might like to do a buddy build, and we agreed. Got to work on it, but I ran out of paint. So here's the exploded diagram, which doesn't show a whole heck of a lot. And I found a picture of a model that had been done to use as a painting guide. Now, before I ran out of paint, I was able to get the basic fuselage assembled with the tailplane. The back, from the right behind the cockpit all the way to the tail, is in a color called clear doped linen. I used AK clear doped linen paint, acrylic paint, and then I used oil paint for the forward part of the fuselage. By the way, that oil paint is still not dry, so I'm not touching this thing anywhere near the front of it. No assembly until that oil paint finally dries. Here is the paint I was using, and I thought I had lots more of this. I had ordered it in bulk a couple years ago because I knew I'd be using a lot of it. Well, apparently this was my last bottle, and there was just barely enough, with a few drops left over, to get this painted, but I couldn't get working on the wings. So everything came to a halt. I painted all of the other parts. I primed the wings. I drilled the holes for the rigging, and I waited for the paint to come. And then it arrived. But before it arrived, a few words about where I found it. Well, as is usually the case for me, I just went on to Amazon and did a search for AK clear dope linen acrylic, and up popped this. I forget whether it was coming directly from Amazon or a third party, and I thought, perfect, a set, three, and I knew could see there were 3 bottles, and I said, okay, I don't have to order multiple bottles, get free shipping, good. Order it, wait for it to come. I think it was 6 or 7 days before it arrived. And I sort of ignored the words special set. I should have investigated what special meant. Okay, but let's go ahead and talk about what I actually did. So I opened the box, and I had both of the upper and the lower wing assembled with the holes punched. I had masked the ribs, taped up the ribs with 1mm tape. So I was going to lay down the clear doped linen on the top sides of both the upper wing and the lower wing. So the lesson here is, even when you think you know what you have, if the packaging is slightly different, and given what you should know about how manufacturers change things, you might want to investigate what you actually bought first. The first bottle that I just grabbed out of the box, well, I didn't really look at the label. If I did, I would have seen it said grimy gray. Well, I didn't match it up and compare it. And even when I mixed some up with some water to thin it down and put it in the airbrush, I was laying it down over both of the wings. It was covering good. And I thought, yeah, this is good. We'll be done pretty quickly. Actually, before I did that, I had shot NATO black across the tape line, and then I put down what I thought was clear doped linen. I mean, it came in a box that said clear doped linen, but no, it was grimy gray. Okay. Didn't really figure out that I'd done anything. I still wasn't looking at the bottle. I set the wings down to dry and waited for the acrylic paint to dry. And then I peeled off the masking tape. And this is what I had. Now, it still looked like a linen, a little grayish, grimy. Again, I hadn't looked at the name on the bottle or what the bottle label said, but it looked all right. I hadn't taken it over and compared it to what was on the fuselage. What put me off right away was that where I had masked off the ribs, underneath which was white primer, the contrast was just too sharp. And somehow there wasn't enough contrast with NATO black overspray. And I was thinking, how am I going to fix all of this? This just wasn't what I was looking for. And then, as I pondered that, I took a look in the box and I saw that there were indeed 2 more bottles. And the bottles were labeled buff, warm gray, and of course I had grimy gray. Now I discovered that. None of them were the same number as the old clear dope linen acrylic bottle that I had. Sure, it was AK, but the shades were all different. What the heck is going on? So at this point, I know I've got an issue that extends beyond the fact that the ribs are too white and too bright. What color paint did I use? So I had a couple drops left of the original clear dope linen, and I took a little strip of white styrene and I set down the colors. There is clear dope linen, the original paint that's on the fuselage to the left. There's buff in the middle. There is grimy gray next to it. And then there is the warm gray. Okay, well, at least I didn't paint it the warm gray, but if I had, I might have noticed the difference. Yeah, believe it or not, I didn't pick out the fact that I had a grimy gray wings, not even close to what was on the fuselage, the pale dope linen, which was what I wanted. So what in the heck did AK sell me? Correction. What in the heck did I buy from AK? Yeah, it might have helped if I turned the box around and looked at all 4 sides. A step-by-step process of how you create the clear dope linen on a German, in this case a Fokker Eindecker, by using all 3 paints and masking. Of course, I had done none of that, not with these paints. I had used white primer and my old clear dope linen and NATO black. Okay. I know how to fix all of this or redo it. Frankly, the most irritating thing, besides my not taking a look at what I did and just plunging right in, was having to mask all of those ribs all over again. There's a lot of them, but that just goes with the territory. So I'll get on that, but not today. And in fact, when I discovered all of this and actually took a look at what have I done early this morning, I said, all right, put it away, deal with it tomorrow. You got to do something productive, something you know how to do. How about if you paint those pilot figures? Well, one of them came with the kit, and I decided to possibly use an aftermarket figure instead. So I got to working on that. Here's the original pilot figure that came with the kit, but an aftermarket replacement head with a bit more pronounced and sharper detailing on the face. So I painted him up. I'm probably going to use him in the cockpit because he fits. The body and the legs are so-so. Bear in mind, it's an old kit. It's old molding. The head sort of saves it, I think, in terms of the quality of the sculpt. You're not going to see those skinny legs much anyway. And as I said, he fits. But of course, in the meantime, I had looked at an alternative, and this is a aftermarket resin pilot figure. Actually, I bought it as a German World War I pilot, but I tried to make him look sort of civilian, just a black, dark leather jacket, khaki jodhpurs, and he looks really nice. I mean, it's a good figure, good sculpt. He's actually molded to be perched on the edge of the cockpit or sitting on the side of the fuselage or something like that. Maybe I'll do that as well. Anyway, it was worthwhile to get something done that I knew what I was doing. I knew what paints I wanted to use. And this part of the build is now done. Now it'll be on to redoing wings and waiting for that oil paint on the fuselage to dry. And then we'll see what it's like to try to attach those wings and the struts and the landing gear, all in due course. I think I've learned my lesson until I forget it next time. Look at the box you get, see if there's a difference, read the directions. A little knowledge, or in this case, making an assumption that you have the knowledge, can be a dangerous thing. Thanks for watching, folks.